This is my top 10 Xbox 360 games. I'm sure I've done this already. This is my next top 10 Xbox 360 games. Alright everyone, hope you're doing well. Thanks for pressing play once again. I'm the man they call Pixel Paul, and I don't have the best memory. So I've been planning to do the best, or my top 10 Xbox 360 games this week, and it's only when I came to put together my thumbnail for it that I realised I'd done a thumbnail for Xbox 360 top 10s already. And suddenly it all came flooding back to me, the fact that it took me ages to pick a top 10. And I'd spent all afternoon this afternoon thinking about what was going to make my top 10 and the games I was leaving out. So yeah, great planning on my part. So sorry about that. But what I've decided to do is carry on with the theme of top 10 Xbox 360. If you've not already watched that original video, which I did months and months and months ago, I'll put a link to it up here and you can check it out. That is my top 10 favourite Xbox 360 games. And I'll show you the ones that were in there. So if you haven't watched the video, go and watch the video, then come back and I'll show you which ones they are. I don't know whether to put a gap in here or something. I won't do. So these were my top 10. I'll just show them very quickly. They were my original top 10. Some amazing games in there. So what I've now decided to do is go through the rest of the games. Now, I could quite easily, well, mostly easily, probably get a top 30 in games, to be quite honest. So this is like the middle part of it, if you like. This is my 11 to 20, say, something like that. And Xbox 360 was, you know, along with the PlayStation 3, that generation of consoles, I suppose like the Wii was in there as well, that generation of consoles was absolutely incredible. For me, probably the last generation of games, anyway, where you saw a lot of chances being taken, a lot of new game series being created, a lot of risks being taken, and a lot of money being thrown at games. Obviously, with the way the world has gone sort of since, you know, I suppose companies are now erring a little bit on the side of caution about throwing money at games. But certainly in that generation, gaming was big business. Physical gaming was big business as well. And yeah, a lot of these developers were sort of throwing out new IPs all over the place. And it was just a great time. And it's just made for such a sort of nostalgic era in gaming in a way. And for a lot of people sort of my age, I suppose, at that point we were of an age where maybe we could afford to go out and buy games. We had time to play the games as well. So yeah, it was an incredible era for gaming, that one. And that's probably why it's been so easy to pick another 10 games for the Xbox 360. So as I said with the first video that I did here, some of these games are sort of multi-format games. So they are games that I played on the Xbox 360 first. So, for example, the way I would sort of explain that is that if I was to do a PlayStation 4 top 10, say, I would probably include The Last of Us Remastered in that top 10 because I played it on that first. But then if I did a PlayStation 3 top 10, I wouldn't include The Last of Us in that top 10. So I hope that makes sense. So it's basically, I played these games on the Xbox 360 the first time around. And that's why, you know, that's why they're in there. They're a multi-format game, but I played them on the Xbox 360 first. Probably not explained that very well, but you know me. Anyway, let's get into this top 10. 20. Right, let's go. So the 10 I've got here, they aren't in any particular order, but what I've done is saved what is my favourite from this 10 to the last. And I think I've got a fairly mixed bunch here, so there might be a few sort of wild cards, but we'll see how it goes, see what you think anyway. So, like I said, all these games were games that I played on the Xbox 360 first, and that includes this one, Dead Space. Survival horror, sci-fi horror, probably at its best. Absolutely love this game. Just an incredible experience to play this game. Back when did this come out? 2000, and this is when I struggle now to remember years, but I want to say about 2003, 2004, no, 2008, way off, 2008. I think this still holds up today. The remaster was good. No, in fairness, the remaster or remake of it on the current gen consoles was actually really, really good. Probably ironed out a lot of the things that were not quite as right with this game in a way. But yeah, I mean, I still think this game holds up. I still think it's creepy. I still think it's scary. I still think it's dark. I think it's the perfect Dead Space game. Dead Space 2 was good, but not quite as psychologically sort of terrifying in a way, I didn't think. And then Dead Space 3 just went down the action route a little bit too much and just sort of lost it a little bit. So I think Dead Space, the original Dead Space, Xbox 360, absolutely incredible game. So that's the first game for this 10. Next up, I've gone for, and I was really impressed with this game. I've only, well, it was in the last year or two, played this game, but I've not played the PlayStation 3 version, so the first time I was playing it on the Xbox 360. So I've gone for this one, Sleeping Dogs. It's not normally my type of game, this one, but I really, really enjoyed it. It's a third-person, open-worldish kind of game, set in Hong Kong, very cinematic. Loved the combat in it. Loved the gunfight in it, the sort of gunplay in it as well. Incredible storyline to it. This is one of those games that's, I know it did get a re-release, didn't it, on the later consoles, but I don't know. It just feels like this game could carry on, and I think it kind of did in another series, didn't it? I can't remember. Was this a continuation of a series, or did something merge into this series? I don't know a huge amount about the sort of backstory or forward story, even to Sleeping Dogs. All I do know is that it was just a really fun game. I really enjoyed playing this. And like I say, it was only in the last sort of 2 years ago. I just missed this first time around. But yeah, I thought it was good enough to make it into my second top 10. So Sleeping Dogs. Next up, now, I was kind of on the shelf whether to include the first game or this game. But I've gone overall for experience. I think this is the better. I enjoyed it's really hard. I'm always very torn with these two games, really. I'll show you which one it is. It's Batman Arkham City. So I really, really love Arkham Asylum. I do love Arkham Asylum, but I kind of get that Arkham City is probably the better game. It is probably the better game. And I do remember back in the day, I probably enjoyed City more than Asylum. It's only kind of in recent years where I've sort of started to appreciate Asylum that little bit more. So yeah, I think it's probably fair to put City in for me. But yeah, I mean, City was Asylum expanded almost, wasn't it? It's just on such a bigger scale, but not too big. You know, some games, some open world games in sort of cityscape environments can be a little bit too big sometimes. I find I just sometimes find games like GTA a little bit too overwhelming. So I thought Arkham City was just the right sort of size map for this type of game. But yeah, the sort of use of gadgets and the elements of gameplay that they took from Asylum, which was a much more sort of confined and claustrophobic game compared to this one, but they still sort of adapted everything from that game into this sort of larger scale game. And yeah, I just think this is it the perfect superhero game? It can't be far off. It can't be far off, really. I know Spider-Man's up there as well, but Arkham City is still an incredible game. All right, the sort of closing parts of the game and the final boss are a bit cheap. That's probably the only bit of it that sort of lets it down for me. But it's the exploring the city that I love, you know, finding all the little Easter eggs, all the little nods to characters that aren't necessarily in the game, but are sort of represented, if you like. There's tons of that stuff going out throughout the game. So it's the perfect game for a Batman fan. And yeah, I love Arkham City. I think it's great. So that's in there. Next up, and I've gone for, again, I could have gone possibly for another game in this series, but I've gone for this one just because of the impact it had. It sort of reinvigorated this series a little bit, and I've gone for Tomb Raider. So, I mean, I was a massive fan of Tomb Raider Legend, as people probably know, but I did play that on PlayStation 2 first. Same with Underworld, so I suppose, yeah, I probably couldn't put Underworld into into this top 10. So this one more than justifies its place anyway, though. It was an incredible reboot, really, for what was probably a slightly flagging series to a degree. I suppose some people were a little bit underwhelmed with Underworld. So yeah, just, I mean, it's a very different sort of Tomb Raider game. You know, it's an open world sort of setting, and there's elements of the old school sort of Tomb Raider in there as well. But it's just Tomb Raider brought right up to date. So it's just, it is a stunning game. It is a fantastic game. You could argue that maybe Rise of the Tomb Raider, was it Shadow of the Tomb Raider? No, Rise of the Tomb Raider, the sequel, was possibly better. But for what this did for the series, yeah, that's why I'm going to put this into this top 10. Cheers, everybody. Right, I'm going to go into my wild card now. Now, I have included this one because I remember really, really enjoying it. I've played it a little bit since back in the day, since then, but only a little bit. And all I remember about it was enjoying it. I just enjoyed playing it and really enjoyed playing it, actually. And partly because nobody else seemed to be playing it. So that's why this is my wild card. It's one of those games where some people will just be completely unaware of it, and a lot of people will go, oh yeah, I know that game. It's not Hidden Gem or anything like that. So I think it's kind of one of those in-between games that some people have played, some people haven't played it. But for me, I really enjoyed it. I just don't remember much much about it, which is ironic given its title, Remember Me. So yeah, by Capcom. I just remember really, really enjoying it, but I don't remember too much about it. Other than it's got, you know, it's a very sort of stylistic visual style to it. It's kind of, I mean, it's realistic sort of graphics, realistic looking character models and everything. But if you've ever played that game, State of Mind, where it's all sort of very angular animation sort of looking, with very sort of limited kind of colour palette to it, like oranges and whites. There's parts of it that are like that as well. So it's a very sort of stylistic game. It's set in Paris as well, or partly in Paris. And yeah, I just remember really enjoying it. I remember the controls were really sort of, well, relatively fluid, similar in a way to the controls for sort of like Tomb Raider a bit. Some of the combat is a little bit fiddly from what I remember. Again, I am going off muscle memory here, and as I explained at the start of this video, my memory is not that great, but I do remember enjoying Remember Me. So yeah, that's why I wanted to put it in there. It's my sort of wild card for this 10. Remember Me, if you can. This one I do remember, and again, I suppose some people would say this maybe is a bit of a wild card as well. It's another superhero game. It's probably one that most people would have had at the time very low expectations for, because, you know, it's based on a Marvel character. The film was kind of got a lukewarm reception, but I really enjoyed this game. I thought it was a pleasant surprise. Captain America Super Soldier, by Sega, and I just thought this was another sort of really solid Xbox 360 type third person beat 'em up kind of, you know, a platformer beat 'em up type game. I just again really enjoyed it. I do love the Captain America character. He's probably, you know, with the Punisher, one of my favourite Marvel characters. So maybe I'm slightly biased, but there's obviously something with this game because it still now sort of commands a relatively sort of high price or value as well for an Xbox 360 game. So it's not like the Thor game or the Iron Man game. This is, I think, generally regarded as being a pretty decent game, and I personally really enjoyed it as well back in the day. I've not played this one for a while. I played, unfortunately, the Nintendo Wii version not that long ago, and that's awful, absolutely rotten game. Nothing like this. But yeah, this one, thoroughly recommend it. It's a good one, that one. Right, so throughout this, well, the original top 10 and this top 10, you might be surprised that I've not included a Call of Duty game. That might be a little bit controversial perhaps, but that's partly because I personally, back in the day, was always more of a Medal of Honor guy. So I just liked the Medal of Honor games. I loved the PS1 Medal of Honor games, and then as it went on to PlayStation 2, I think Frontline was like one of my first PlayStation 2 games. Absolutely amazing game. And I just continued to like it when it moved on to Xbox 360. Now, there was about 4 Medal of Honor games. This was the first one. Was this a launch title? I don't think it was it? It was quite an early title, I think, on it. 2007. Maybe not then. But this was the last of the kind of old school Medal of Honor games. After this one, they kind of then tried to modernise the series a little bit, and it didn't quite work. So for me, this was the last best Medal of Honor game, and it is, of course, Medal of Honor Airborne. And yeah, I just think this is such an underrated, overlooked, underappreciated game. It does have a lot of fans, to be honest, as well. But obviously, it was just at this time, it was very much overlooked by Modern Warfare, probably Modern Warfare 2 as well. And sadly, it probably didn't do that well, and not as many people sort of played it. And I still think it's a really good shooter, this one, Medal of Honor Airborne. Its sort of gimmick is the airborne element of it, where you dropped into certain combat zones via sort of a parachute and a plane. So that gives it a different element of how you can start a mission and where you can start a mission. And yeah, just a very sort of solid World War II shooter, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. So that's another one for my top 10. And we're heading now into the top 3. I'll go into the top 3. I'm going to give shout outs or just a bit of recognition for a couple of games, 3 games actually, that didn't make it into this top 10 or my first top 10. I mean, they're unlucky to not be in there in a way, but I won't go into too much detail about them because I'm sure you'll all know them. The Saboteur, excellent game. Death Smiles, I mean, this is only one that I've recently played, really, but just really enjoy it, really love this game. And the game that I did enjoy back in the day, but have started to appreciate a little bit more these days again, Spec Ops: The Line. So yeah, I think those 3 are probably a little bit unlucky to miss out. Everybody else's top 10s or top 20s would probably include some of those, because some of these are very sort of personal choices in a way, including this one. Now I know this is one of those games that some people love, some people hate it. I really loved it. I personally really, really enjoyed it, and that is Mirror's Edge. It's a very unique game, or it was certainly sort of unique back in the day. It's kind of that sort of first person perspective parkour kind of game where gunplay isn't off the cards, but it's not necessary in a way. It's best to play the game without sort of picking up weapons and that sort of thing. It's visually just absolutely stunning, if very sort of basic, a bit like that what I was mentioning with Remember Me, with elements of it being sort of very based on like white kind of palettes with splashes of colour, which helps with you being able to sort of get from A to B. And that is kind of the whole point of the game. Each mission is basically just you getting from A to B as quickly as you can, and in one piece in a way. But so yeah, I just really enjoy Mirror's Edge. I still enjoy Mirror's Edge now. I love the soundtrack to it, the score, the main sort of song that came from the game as well. Just love it. So yeah, easily into my top. I mean, why this didn't make it into my top 10, I don't know. I'm not really sure. This must have been one of those games that was borderline or bordering on getting into the top 10, because it is one of my favourite games. I do really, really love this game. I was so disappointed with the second one. The second game was just, it took so long to arrive, and it was almost like that fan power that got that game going. But it just never quite captured the same sort of feel for this game. It was almost maybe a bit too polished, a bit too open world, I don't know. But yeah, Mirror's Edge, I love that game. Brilliant game. Number 2 then, and I've gone for, so the first game in the series was in my top 10. The second game was fine. I actually enjoyed the multiplayer on the second game quite a lot, actually. Not many people played it though. It didn't get a lot of traction, but the actual main sort of game itself felt more like a 1.5 or an add-on kind of pack to the first game, whereas this one, the third game in the series, was more of the same in a completely different setting. BioShock Infinite. So yeah, just this one is a really, again, incredible game. Did the story grab me and the setting grab me quite as much as the first one? No, it didn't. But it's very much the same sort of core game with the weaponry, and then the sort of I can't remember what they're called again now. The sort of biometric kind of abilities. I don't know what you call them really now. What do you call them? Does it say on there? No. It's totally gone. But yeah, it's just the way you can sort of combine the use of weapons and those kind of magical kind of weapons as well. Not explaining it very well there, am I? Just really sort of makes it stand out from other first-person shooters, or it certainly did back in the day anyway. This one obviously has a slightly more sort of complex storyline to it, possibly, than the first one. Certainly more so than the sort of second game. Again, does it have the same sort of impact as the first game? I mean, the first game's incredible, and part of that is because of the environment that you're in with Rapture, and whereas the sort of Sky City is it's still quite sort of visually stunning. I don't know, it just doesn't have the same sort of effect. Maybe it's that kind of claustrophobic nature again, that it's sort of slightly lax. I don't know. But that being said, I mean, it's still an incredible first-person shooter, this one. So yeah, that one is into my second place for this top 10. Okay, so we're on to the last game now, and I will try not to talk too much about this one because I know I've waffled on about all these other games. But yeah, this one is another one of my all-time favourite Xbox 360 games. Again, probably very unlucky not to have made my top 10. Not really sure why didn't make my top 10, because I did really enjoy it. It's Assassin's Creed 2. So Assassin's Creed 2, I had a bit of reservations with starting this game and playing this game back in the day. So I'd played Assassin's Creed, and I thought it was a good idea. I thought it had something different. I quite liked the look of it and the premise of it. I just found it really boring. I just thought it was incredibly dull. And some of it felt quite cumbersome and quite repetitive. So when Assassin's Creed 2 came out, I was a little bit on the reserve side with, would I enjoy it? I just didn't really enjoy the first one. But obviously when it came out, reviews for it were incredible. And so yeah, I gave it a go and utterly blown away with it. Everything that was wrong with the first game was rectified with this game, I thought. That was something that sort of happened a lot, I thought, within this sort of whole generation of video games, in that, ideas were created for first games, didn't quite hit the mark, but then the sequel came out and improved on it in every single sort of aspect. Uncharted, for example, probably is a good example of that. But I think Assassin's Creed is the main sort of example of it. And Assassin's Creed 2, just, yes, absolute stunning game. I still think it looks stunning now. The storyline just draws you in very sort of gradually, but not in a dull or boring way. The setting is amazing. The score is amazing. The voice acting is amazing. Everything about this game is incredible, really. It's one of the very few games as well, and I'm not a trophy hunter or a achievement hunter or anything like that particularly, but this was the first, I think this was the first Xbox 360 game I ever 100%ed, just because that's, I loved it that much. Don't know how many hours I put into it in the end, but I did love it, and it was probably unlucky not to make it into my top 10. Assassin's Creed 2. So that is the end of my second top 10 Xbox 360 games. Combine them together and we have my top 20 in a way. But some incredible games. It's so difficult to pick the best games from that generation, because you could pick so many more games, and to a degree I feel a bit guilty that I've not maybe picked a bit more variety in a way. When you think about some of the racing games, Blur hasn't made it into that top 10. Some more of the sort of beat 'em up type games as well. You know, some of the Dead or Alive games and Mortal Kombat even. So yeah, I mean, is there a chance I could do a third of these? Well, quite possibly. But probably if I'm going to do another from that generation, I'll probably do a PlayStation 3 game just to give it a slightly different perspective, perhaps. Anyway, hope you've watched this video. Hope you've watched that first video. Let me know your top 10 Xbox 360 game. Be intrigued to know what other people's top 10s for that classic console are. So let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you, if I remember, next time.